What you're about to watch is a special private training session for people who bought a copy of my book, Built to Serve. Enjoy. How to create a framework to teach something. Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. We actually start that with inside Built to Serve, page 152, 153, Recipe for Success. I know you guys all have the book because you're in this group. There's a 3-step process that I guide people through for you to figure out what helped you have success. That is the thing that then you can teach other people. So you've tried a million things, right? Whatever hole you were in, whatever pain you came from, you tried so many things to get out. I remember with my first business, I tried so many different things. And it felt like nothing was working. Like just everything I tried, just nothing was working. And then I discovered model success, right? Then I discovered, hey, Bill Gates started Microsoft. How can I model his success? And that one thing became then the thing that I've done for the past 21 years. It's crazy. 21 years. So that strategy of modeling success is the thing that saved me. And now it's what I've teach other people. It's why I make my YouTube channel. It's why I have the, posters on the wall here behind me. Everything that I've done for the past 20 plus years, whenever I don't know what to do, model success. That was what saved me. But I tried a lot of other things that didn't work as well. So out of all the million things that you tried to get out of the hole, you found 1, 2, 3 things that actually worked. That's what you have to remember. You have to go back in time to when you were really, really struggling. How did you get out of that hole? And write down the steps, right? So page 153, your recipe for success. Number 1 is, when did you decide that something had to change? So step 1 to actually help people change is realize they have to decide to change, right? You can give them, if we're talking about teaching, we as teachers love teaching. We love giving the information. We love giving the knowledge. We love giving the information. We want people to change, right? But if they haven't decided to change yet, then none of your strategies are going to matter. You could tell them, what they need to do, but they're not going to listen to you. They're not actually going to implement if they have not decided that they need to make that actual change right now. Evan Tinsman in the group, I know, struggled with alcohol addiction for a long time, and he could have easily been given the strategies. He probably was given the strategies a bunch of times by different people. He could have easily gone to books or articles and found, hey, here's how to deal with it. But he wasn't ready yet. He wasn't ready at the beginning to deal with it. He hasn't decided to change. So the strategies that you're giving don't matter yet until the person is ready to change. So go back to your own story. What was the moment that you decided that you had to change? For me, it was quitting on my business partner, right? It was saying, I quit. I hate this. I need to feel like I'm a valuable human being. I'm working my face off. I'm getting 0 results. This can't keep going like this. That's when I decided that something had to change. So go back to your story. When did you decide that something had to change? And then you need to pull that out of people. So in your sharing of your story, you have to make it be relatable, which it will be, right? Because it's your own personal story. You have to not just gloss over it and just tell the surface level version of it. You got to take me deep into how you were feeling and what actually sparked the change. And that gets people mentally prepared to then actually listen to the teachings, right? So this is why your story is so important, even though it's scary to share, and you might be worried of judgment or criticism. If people don't know what you went through, they're not going to listen to your advice because they're going to say, well, she's not like me. He doesn't get me, right? So you have to tell your story, and you have to go back to that point in your story when you decided that you had to change. You were wrestling with this for months or years or decades for some people. And it was this moment that you decided that you had to change. That's step 1. Then 2 was, what was the first thing you did to start to change, right? So 3 steps, right? What was the first thing you did to start to change? It may seem insignificant. It may seem small. It may not seem like a big deal. But what was the first thing you did? So for me, it was, I just asked myself, somebody else has had to build a software company before and had success. Like, who was it? Who was it? And the only person I could think of was Bill Gates. And it didn't seem like it was this groundbreaking strategy. It didn't seem like this was going to be the thing that I was going to spend the next 21 years doing, right? It just didn't seem it was that big, but it actually turned out to be. And so that first step is super important, because a lot of people, if you just give the big strategy for where they could go, you tell them where they could be in 5 years or 10 years or even next year, they won't believe you. they don't think it's possible. They don't think they have an ability to get to that next big step. So what was the first little step that you took that in the moment felt insignificant and small, but actually made a big difference? So that gives people hope. That gives people courage. That makes people feel like it's possible. So what was the first thing you did to start the change? And then how did you sustain the momentum is number 3. So how did you sustain the momentum? Because you tried and stopped a bunch of things. So how did you actually keep that thing going? What were the strategies, the tactics, the habits? Like, what did you do to now suddenly be able to stay consistent where in the past you weren't? And inside of those 3 questions is the framework to teach. All we want to really do is help them get to where we are right now, right? You say, look at everything that's possible. Look at where I've come. You can do this too. They just don't believe that it's possible for them. So you have to take people through that 3-step process. Inside there's layers, and it depends on your specific story, right? What worked for me is going to be totally different than what worked for Krista or Duong or Dee or Brian or Yunsky or all you awesome people here in the chat. But that 3-step process becomes the framework to teach. The next question was from Chris, who said, how do you know when to keep pushing forward and when to just move on? So the short answer is you move on when you stop loving it. I think a lot of people honestly even stay in businesses or stay in relationships for too long, and they realize they stopped loving their business a year ago or 2 years ago or 4 years ago, and they kept going with it just because they didn't want to look like a failure, just because they didn't want to tell their family that they're closing, or how their friends would see them and they have to start over, or the humility to have to go get a job. But if you stop loving something, that's when you quit, because you're never going to win doing work that you hate. You're just not. You're never going to. If you're waking up today like, oh, I hate doing it. If I woke up today and it's like, oh, inside this readers group, I hate these guys. then it's not going to work. I'm not going to have the energy. I'm not going to have the passion. I'm not going to have great answers. And it's slowly going to eat away at me. Now, I love you guys. This is fantastic. This is the best way to start for me. But when you stop loving it, that's when you move on. On the flip side, if you still love it and you're not getting results, then you have to keep going. Because what ends up happening is you're going to regret it. If you love doing this thing, but it's just not, working out yet. You haven't hit the financial goals you've got. You haven't had the customer goals you've got, whatever metrics you've set for yourself, but it's not, air quotes, working for you yet. If you quit now and then you go do something else, what's going to happen is you're going to look back on this moment in 3 months and 6 months and a year and 20 years and say, I wish I kept going because I loved it. So this is not something that anybody can tell you to quit or not. This is a heart decision. So as long as you still love doing the thing, you might have to find a different way to stand. It's a Oprah Winfrey quote. Like, I had to find a different way to stand. You can't keep doing it the way that you've been doing it. You have to find some adjustments. It's not just keep photocopying the same thing you have been doing, because that hasn't been working. But you have to keep going and find a different way to stand instead of quitting, because you will regret that decision the rest of your life. So Ronald asked how to squeeze some business time into a family day. So that's interesting, especially on a day like today, which is a holiday for a bunch of you guys here who are watching live. I do this a couple ways. One, I actually integrate my family, my wife, my son, into the business. Nina is very familiar with what I'm doing in the company. And I used to have a really hard time when she had a 9-to-5 job and I would be working. And when she came home, she wanted to ask me questions about my day and what I was doing and what happened today. And I have no need to actually talk about what I'm doing. If I have a problem, I solve the problem, not by talking about it, but by trying to fix the problem. And so it felt frustrating for me to try to remember what happened today for be able to share it. But I realized it was really important to her. And when the people around you understand what's going on in your business and how it affects you emotionally, it doesn't become as big a hot topic, right? So if you're trying to find an hour today on Thanksgiving, or to be here, right? Some people are not here because they're celebrating Thanksgiving, right? Which is totally cool. But you're trying to find a 25-minute window to be here. It's like, I'm going to go hang out with Evan Carmichael instead of you guys today, right now. for them to know what this means to you. Like, let's just use this live as an example, for them to know what this means to you, to your business, to your life, to what you're trying to create, to the community that it's helped give you, right? For them to know how important this is for you makes a big difference compared to, oh, he's just off working again. He's just off doing that thing, right? You've blocked them out from your life. And so now they're angry at the work and they blame the work instead of seeing it as that integration. So when they know how important it is to you, when they know exactly what you're doing and why and what it means to you, and that just takes an extra level of communication. It's not like you're asking for permission, right? This is where people can get blocked. Like, you're not asking for permission to come and be on this live or do that call or watch that video or whatever business time is going to be for you. You're not asking for permission. You're just helping bring them into your world. Whether they can be a part of your world and actually help you do anything, right? At the beginning, Nina couldn't really help me do anything in my business. She didn't have a role. So I didn't see the value in just explaining what I was doing. And I definitely didn't want to ask her for permission for what I was doing. But in explaining it, it brought her into my world. It created more understanding and it made things a lot easier. It allowed her to get to know me better. So if you're trying to carve out time for work on a holiday or family day, the family has to feel like you're not choosing that thing over you, that there's not this big divide between you. And that comes from explaining and letting them into your world, right? Now, going a level deeper is actually trying to involve them somehow. I had a guy on my Instagram live who's part of my Movement Makers program, and he is teaching fathers how to be better, how to teach fathers with daughters how to be better fathers, basically. And he wants to start this show interviewing people and talking about what it is to be a father. And he was trying to carve out time for, like, I don't have a lot of time because I have a job until this thing takes off, and I've got family responsibilities. And so I only have this amount of time, in the morning to be able to do this. I said, well, why not involve your daughters in the show? Why not have your daughters come in and help you do the interviews? When you're talking to some expert about parenthood, why not have one of your daughters ask a question as well? And he took a pause and then said, holy cow, this is a totally different way of seeing things. And so now it's not just, okay, this is my work life, and then you guys are doing your own thing. Maybe your family can be a part of what you're doing and can be now more emotionally involved with the work that you're doing too, and maybe bring even more joy and satisfaction to you, right? So now he's got I think it was 11 and 13-year-old daughter, and now they're researching who to interview, who they can bring on, who they can ask questions to. And now his business isn't just this thing isolated all on its own. That makes sense? Okay. I found that you have to be nimble because things change and evolved from how you originally think is going to happen. How do you suggest shifting but not losing the message? How do you handle your close relatives' feelings on your comments about yourself and sharing your story that might implicate them? Okay, so those are two different questions. Let's go with the family one first. When you're sharing your story, I'm very careful not to throw anybody under the bus. Some people, obviously your family's involved in what's happening. Some people have no problem with it. Some people are like, no, I hate that man. I don't care that the world knows that it was him. And so they're super happy to do it. I'm not in that camp. I don't like throwing somebody under the bus, but a lot of the story, you don't have to say who it is. A lot of the times when I'm sharing stories, if I look at my espresso videos where I'm going on rants or I'm stage speaking and I'm telling a story about something that happened to me, maybe it's Nina and I know that she's okay with it. But otherwise, if it's somebody in my family, I'll often just change the relationship, or I'll change the gender, or I'll say someone close to me, because it actually doesn't really matter that it was your father. It doesn't really matter that it was your aunt. All that matters is it was somebody close to you who hurt you and made you feel this way, right? So you don't have to call them out by name and make them feel bad. What matters is your side of it, without saying that they're a terrible person or they're a terrible human being. All that matters is that you felt this way because of what happened. And so if you have to change some of the circumstances, you have to change the gender, You could definitely change the name if you're going to even say a name. That doesn't really matter. All that matters is how you felt about it, how you felt afterwards, and then what you did to get out of the hole. And then the other question was about being nimble, be firm on the why and flexible on the how, right? So the why doesn't change. How you do it will change a million times. I want to solve the world's biggest problem. I want to help entrepreneurs believe in themselves. I want to help the world believe in themselves, but specifically entrepreneurs. I want people to wake up and feel like today they could do something bigger, better, badder, bolder than they did yesterday. That you've got Michael Jordan level genius at something, right? That's what I wake up every day trying to do. How I accomplish that's going to change a million times. It's why we built to serve. We go through it, right? The who and the why are stable. They don't change. Once you figure out your who, your most important core value, and your why, that sets you up for life. When you're 120 years old, you'll still care about those two things. But the how you accomplish it will change. I've had a pretty good run, on YouTube, where it's been 11 and a half years, April 2009. Yeah, so 11 and a half years on YouTube. We just crossed 400 million views, which is crazy. It's crazy. What's the population of the US? It's like something like that. Maybe it's more now. Anyway, it's hard to imagine. I never thought I'd be at 400 million views when I started this thing. Not at all. But it'll change. In 20 years, it may not be YouTube anymore, right? We're going to be hosting these all in some kind of virtual reality room, or VRing into some place, or hologramming. We're all going to meet in Evan Tinsman's office, for the next event. It's going to change. The technology will change, but the why stays consistent. So this is why creating a perfect business plan is never a great idea, because you don't have enough knowledge to actually know, right? So many people I see spend so much time building the perfect business plan, and then they get out to market and start executing it, and it doesn't work because they didn't have the perfect information. Because the best way to actually test it is to go talk to people, go start selling, go start marketing, go start creating. You never know which one's going to work until you actually start doing it. But you have to get up every day and start doing it. And so YouTube's been awesome. We're playing with TikTok, and we're on Instagram and doing other forms of content. I'm always going to be doing work to help entrepreneurs, but I'm not fixed on how it happens. In the past 24 months, I was asked to do so much speaking and getting bigger stages and bigger events. And then COVID hits, and then the speaking goes to zero. There are no events, right? There's no actual events happening. All the people who are organizing events were struggling to figure out, what do we do now? This is my entire business. And so now they're doing online events, and you've probably seen a whole bunch of them, tons of different online events, summits. I think even more online events now than there were offline events before COVID. And so they adjusted. I adjusted. That's the plan. Like, look at what's happening right now with COVID. I'm sure you've had to make a whole bunch of adjustments compared to your life before, but the why shouldn't change. And so it's being super stubborn on the why, the vision that you're trying to create, and then flexible on the how of how you're going to accomplish it forever. Like there's always going to be shocks to the system. There's always going to be the next thing, that whether it's external like COVID, whether it's something that happens close, right? A family member passes away. Like, you'll have these shocks to your system that push you backwards, and you have to make an adjustment. But just keep remembering the why and being stubborn on it. Crystal says, how do you move past insecurities that your content is not good enough? So the first step is recognizing that you're insecure, that your content's not good enough. And that's actually a big first step. For most people, they find really smart reasons why they can't do it. Oh, I can't make a YouTube video because I don't have the camera, and I don't have the story to share, and I don't have, like, all these excuses for why they can't start. And I see Zan the Man Smith here in the house, and it's good to be all hands up. And Zan joined me on my YouTube gaming channel. So I stream League of Legends 4 times a week and answer questions as we go. And he was talking about making content and doing Instagram lives. I pushed him, hey, you got to make an Instagram live. He's like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Great. Okay. Like tonight. I don't even know how it works. Like, well, I'll show you. Get your phone, press this button, then press that button, and boom, you're going live. And Yuko, who's also here in the chat, was his first person who joined him live. And it was awesome. I never, after that, Zane went live the next day again with somebody else. And now he knows how to do it. We create these. So the first step to overcome the insecurity is recognizing that you're actually insecure, because, you know, in his head, Zane's got all these ideas for how I'll do that in January, or I've got this plan for December. And when he was talking about his YouTube plan, he's like, yeah, I'm going to launch those videos next year. Like, next year, dude, next year is like 2040. Come on, let's go. Where's that? I want that video by tomorrow. So we have these perfect plans and we have all these reasons why we can't do things. And really, it's just masking an insecurity. So the biggest first step is just recognizing that you are insecure about it. And that's fine. And that's normal. And that's human. And that's actually great, because people who are watching you don't want to learn from the perfect person. They want to learn from somebody who is kind of like them. If you come across as perfect all the time, then they say, well, that person's just perfect. They don't get me. They don't understand what I'm going through. They're not like me. So I can't learn from them. So step one, recognize that you are insecure. Awesome. Step two, you then need to tell yourself that being insecure is not a good enough reason to stop accepting the fear, accepting the insecurity as a good enough reason for you not to take action. So anytime I use it in a couple of ways. So scary, difficult, or hard, right? When I say those words, it means I have to do it. Or the boom, boom, boom test, which is when my heart's beating like this, that means I have to do it. Just because, even if it doesn't work out, like, expect it to suck. Expect your first videos to suck. Expect it not to go well. Like Zan's first live, he's like, what am I doing here? Is this working? Evan, are you there? You know, it's like, and listen, it was mine too. Like, how does this work? Oh, I'm live. Oh, great. Wow. Okay. Awesome. You don't just expect it to suck. Why do you expect it to be great the first time out? Right? Expect the thing to suck. The problem is we take that content sucking and we wear it as we suck. Zane the Man doesn't suck as a human because his first Instagram live wasn't fantastic at the beginning, right? Just because it sucked, it doesn't mean that you suck. So I just expect it to suck. And I flip it to say, I'm amazing that I did that. I'm amazing that I tried. That was scary. Oh my God, I'm awesome. Because if you keep stepping up and doing the scary things that you're insecure about, it's going to get better, right? If Zane makes 100 Instagram lives and we compare 100 to the first one, it's going to be a world of difference. And you can go back and watch my videos. Somebody posted on Instagram this morning, one of my first videos, and to say like, wow, I can't believe this is Evan. Like, yeah, you can go back 11 years ago and watch all the content that was there. There's been a lot of growth and development, and it's been definitely quite the journey. But I kept all those videos up so you can watch the progression, and hopefully it doesn't have to take you 11 years to get here, you know, as well. But just recognize that you are insecure. To accept being insecure isn't a good enough reason for you to act. And then 3, just expect to suck at the start. You know, to your point, I think it was Crystal, and I know we're at time already. It's crazy. Holy cow. It took me 350 videos until I wasn't completely embarrassed by my content. And I think I shared that story in Built to Serve, but 350 videos, 350 public videos where I couldn't watch it back. I would play it and like, oh, stop it. Just post it on YouTube. And next, I could not watch it back. And then 700 videos before I inspired myself, where I watched my video back and like, oh, you know what? That's starting to get pretty good. You know, I like that little video there. That's pretty good. I'm on to something. 700 videos later, right? I mean, crazy amounts of content. So I was really slow and really bad. The only difference is I just kept going. And I think all of you here could probably get there way faster than me. The problem is just allowing those insecurities to stop you. So you do difficult things. You do scary, you do difficult, you do hard. You're not going to let those things slow you back, because they're going to continue to show up. If you let your insecurities win today, they're going to win tomorrow. They're going to win the next day. They're going to win the next day as well. And what's your message to your audience? Is your message only do something when it's perfect? You know, probably not. I hope not. Right? So, but you're living it, right? If your message isn't only do something when it's perfect, but in your message to yourself is, I'm not going to release until it's perfect, right? So you have to start actually living and bringing the audience in. Let them know, I'm actually really nervous doing this, right? If that's how you feel, let them in. Tell them you're nervous. and show them that you still show up when you're nervous. So super important. And whether that's writing a book, making YouTube videos, Instagrams, going live, any of that stuff, it all relates. I know we're over, but super quick story about Yuko. When she came in, she came to my dance studio here in Toronto, and she brought these awesome butter tarts. Oh my God. If you guys don't know what butter tarts are, imagine a pecan pie, but the size of a tart with no pecans on it. That's basically a butter tart. It's a Canadian thing. And she also made these green tea butter tarts, which were amazing. And she was afraid to make videos and make content. I said, you know what? On your way home, she was going to go to this really busy train station, Union Station here in Toronto. And I said, you have to go make a video there and find somebody and make a video in Union Station. It's like, oh my God, I can't do that. I barely even made any videos. How am I going to go do that? But then she did it. She went and she found a woman who liked her backpack or something. I forget what the exact story was, but she did it and she filmed it and she was on and the woman was on. And then after, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. It's crazy. It's something I would never do. Right. And she did it. And that's what you want to teach yourself, that when you come up against a fear barrier, that you do the thing. Right. Don't do something stupid. Don't like jump in front of a train because that's a scary thing to do. Right. Okay. That's just a stupid thing to do. But especially when the fear is other people's judgments of like, who's watching me with my camera here in this busy train station? It's not a good enough reason, not anymore, for you not to take action. If you want to get a copy of Built to Serve and join us live for our next training with me to ask your questions, you can go get the book right there next to me, right there. I'll see you there. I'll see you to get the book. It's a good one. Much love.